Thanks to Honey for sponsoring this update. Honey is a free browser extension that searches the web for discount codes on the stuff you're buying online, so you get the best deal. To try it out, visit joinhoney.com/theknow. Welcome to The Know, I'm Ashley. I'm back. Sorry I was out sick yesterday, but shout out to Brian for covering for me. But I'm feeling better now, and that means it's time to talk about some news. Looks like, in particular, we're going to be getting a lot more information about the next Battlefield game very, very soon. Daily Show host Trevor Noah announced in a tweet he's going to be hosting a live reveal for Battlefield 5 on Wednesday, May 23rd. It's going to stream on the Battlefield YouTube page. That makes it all official. It's Battlefield 5. In a short video, Noah talked about his various jobs as a comic, TV host, producer, but he said that, first and foremost, he's a gamer. Then he talked about hosting the Battlefield event and added, "We've got big news. You don't want to miss it." And then he took a drink out of a coffee mug with the letter V on it. So I confirms the game's gonna be Battlefield 5. No word yet on where the new game is gonna be set or when exactly, but we did see gameplay that showed a hand holding a pistol outside of what looks like a jail cell. There's also images of a table and a chair next to some scattered papers, a painting, an overturned oil lamp, so I don't know, could be anywhere, but maybe people with keener eyes than I have some clues. Still a lot of speculation that it's gonna be World War II. We'll see in a couple days. It looks like Black Ops 4 could be getting some time-exclusive DLC for the PlayStation 4. That's what people are saying anyway, after the game's official Twitter account tweeted an announcement for a live stream that's taking place tomorrow. It's just a 6-second clip, but at the end there's an ad for the PS4 Pro. Sounds like there may then be some kind of exclusivity deal, whether it's marketing or actual content. Wouldn't be the first time that's happened. The DLC for Call of Duty World War II also had a 30-day PS4 exclusivity window, and this would indicate they might do something like that yet again. The game itself is scheduled to release on October 12th, the only game in the month that's not afraid of Red Dead Redemption 2. Now, don't expect a Borderlands 3 announcement at E3 next month, sadly. A number of outlets have been reporting. A Gearbox representative told journalists this week they won't have any kind of Borderlands presence at the event. And in a string of tweets, CEO Randy Pitchford also seemed to indicate it won't be at E3. At least, it's what it seems like he said. His tweets were kind of cryptic. One said, "For example, I could write it out now precisely and specifically that Borderlands 3 will not be at E3, and many of you will choose not to believe it. Many of you will find a way to interpret the intent to suit what you want to believe, regardless of what is true." And then he kind of compared it to Half-Life 3. It was weird. Gearbox officials did say, however, they will have other games to show off at E3. And I can kind of get why people get a little bit skeptical. There have been a few games like Beyond Good and Evil 2 that they said, "No, don't plan on seeing it." And then you saw it, so we're used to being like yanked around a little bit, but it seems like not playful. It's not going to be there. That sounds pretty serious. The studio behind Bulletstorm is working on a new game with Square Enix. People Can Fly, which also made Painkiller and Gears of War Judgment, said that it's developing a new AAA shooter in partnership with Square Enix, and it's staffing up and expanding into 2 additional studios in Europe. In a website post, the studios said that all 3 studios and over 150 developers are currently working on a new IP, a AAA shooter developed alongside Square Enix. That's all we know at this point, but maybe we'll hear more at E3. Seems likely. Why would they be talking about it now if they're not about to talk about it at the biggest gaming announcement event of the year? It just makes sense. THQ Nordic gave investors a status update on its upcoming games, and the headline is that Metro Exodus is going to be delayed. The survival shooter was originally scheduled to release this year after wowing everyone at E3 last year, but THQ now says it's not going to be out until early 2019. In a follow-up statement, the studio said, "The development of Metro Exodus is progressing well. We're all really excited by what we're seeing. We have been constantly reviewing the game's progress to ensure that we deliver a product that gamers and fans of the Metro series want and deserve, as well as keeping an eye on announcements from our competitor products." And in a statement to investors, THQ Nordic also mentioned another couple of its in-development games, Darksiders 3 and Biomutant. Unfortunately, they didn't give release dates for either of those, saying they were still under evaluation for setting a release date. So, nothing to announce, except not soon. And it looks like next year is going to be the end of the road for games on PlayStation Vita. Well, the physical versions. at least. In a message to developers that was obtained by Kotaku, Sony said that its American and European branches plan to end all Vita game card production by close of fiscal year 2018, which means by the end of March next year. Fiscal years are kind of weird. They just don't end when years are supposed to end. And while Sony has been ignoring the Vita more and more in recent years, and shame on you because the hardware is really, really great, it's just didn't get the kind of support it needed, we have seen some high-profile games like, I don't know, Stardew Valley. It's getting ported to the handheld. It's coming out pretty soon here. But yeah, overall, it kind of feels like the beginning of the end for the powerful little Vita, which was never, unfortunately, able to escape the shadow of the 3DS or its proprietary memory cards, because those were the worst. It looks like the horror FPS Stalker 2 is back, guys. After nearly getting canceled back in 2012, yeah, it's been a while, the post-apocalyptic sequel is back in development, but not for release anytime soon. The head of Ukrainian developer GSC Game World made the announcement on Facebook saying, "Today I officially declare GSC Game World develops Stalker 2. And he included a link to a website, but it just has the game name and a contact email and a release date window, sort of, 2021. So get comfortable, it's gonna be a while. You might remember that the original Stalker game, Shadow of Chernobyl, released back in 2007 and involved players exploring the city of Chernobyl after it suffered a second nuclear meltdown because one just wasn't bad enough. A follow-up game, Stalker Call of Pripyat, was also well received, but this is gonna be a pretty long gap for the franchise. Now, shortly after announcing that his studio was closing down, famed developer Cliff Bleszinski went on a Twitter rant where he unveiled a number of discarded game concepts that never saw the light of day from the studio, and kind of too bad because some of them look really cool. One was called Dragonflies, which he described as ninja samurai in airships riding dragons, fighting zombies with friends in a PvE feudal punk setting on floating islands. That's a lot of descriptors. He posted a bunch of cool concept art of characters and their dragons. Another was called Donuts, which Cliffy B described as Mario Kart on water with animals in VR. And still another was called Dog Walkers, which was a multiplayer VR mech shooter where players would work together to pilot a giant machine. Honestly, all those ideas seem really cool, pretty original, and, well, way more original, really, than the games that Boss Key Productions has actually put out, even though Radical Heights had a cool flavor and tone to it. But that's the reality of game development. There's always a ton of really cool, super original stuff that just doesn't get the budget, doesn't get the approval from higher-ups. Now, it looks like the crowdfunded spiritual successor to XCOM has also been delayed. A couple of delays today, sorry. Phoenix Point was originally scheduled to release this year, but it's now been pushed back to 2019. Julian Gallup, who was behind the original XCOM, announced the delay and said it will now release June 2019. Well, the game raised more than $765,000 on Fig, which is a respectable amount of money. Gallup said they need to expand the development team in order to meet the high production values we were aiming for. He added, in order to meet the quality that many people expect and to use the full potential of our expanded team, I've decided to push back our target release date to June 2019. So, sure, a little bit of a bummer, but better to get the game right than to rush it, right? That's some comfort. The first Deadpool's massive success was a kind of a shocker to the industry in spite of, frankly, genius marketing. Typically, R-rated movies don't do as well in the box office as their PG-13 counterparts because they're missing out on all that sweet, sweet family dough. But Deadpool defied the norm and raked in $783 million worldwide. Industry experts are estimating the sequel is going to get about halfway to the first movie's total in just its first weekend now. Right now, the tracking has Deadpool 2 opening between $305 and $350 million worldwide this weekend. Well, it's already out in some places, Europe, with $130 to $150 million of that expected here in the US. There are a couple things to keep in mind though. The first Deadpool's success has made the character kind of a worldwide phenomenon, and last time around they staggered the international release dates, which opened the door for a lot of piracy. So much so that it earned the Most Pirated Movie of 2016 award. Deadpool 2 is at least releasing around the same time all around the world this time, so they can count all the weekends together, I guess. So the potential is there for this one to break right through the box office predictions. If you're wondering whether you ought to check it out, we did see an early screening of it. Spoiler alert, we liked it. But if you want to check that out more in depth, just what was good and what we liked, we do have a standalone video about that. The internet was abuzz with excitement after Premiere France ran a quote from Kathleen Kennedy about the future of Star Wars spin-off movies. The exact quote was, "We think the next spin-off will be dedicated to Lando Calrissian. Of course, there are still many stories to tell about Han and Chewbacca, but Lando will be next." So that's exciting, right? Because everyone is really looking forward to Donald Glover as Lando. Well, apparently something got kind of lost in translation because Lucasfilm claims that quote was misinterpreted, and Premiere France has now retracted the story. Apparently what she really was saying was more like, Lando's super cool and maybe someday he'll get his own movie? So, I'm paraphrasing here, sure, but you get the gist. By all accounts, Donald Glover is just knocking it out of the park and is one of the highlights of Solo. He's basically, as far as I'm concerned, he's like the main character anyway. Anyway, the movie's tracking to open pretty huge, so odds that we see him back in the Cape are pretty high. It just seems like when that is, probably. Fans of the Serial podcast should be pretty excited about this next piece of news. HBO is finishing up work on a 4-hour-long documentary examining the ins and outs of Adnan Syed's case. Syed was arrested and convicted of the death of his ex-girlfriend, Hae-Min Lee, though he's always professed his innocence. Serial host Sarah Koenig brought the case to, well, just about everyone's attention with the massively popular podcast in 2015, and now Amy Berg's documentary is going to examine the events leading up to the crime and a resulting case against Adnan, promising groundbreaking revelations that will challenge the state's case. It is worth noting Berg has a pretty good track record in looking at these kinds of cases. Her documentary, West Memphis 3, was crucial in helping secure the release of 3 men on death row after an infamously shaky trial. No release has been announced yet, so we don't know when exactly, but it sounds like it's coming sooner rather than later. Berg has been working on the doc since 2015, so I'm sure she will like to have that out as well. Alright, that is all the news for this roundup. Let us know what you think of all the news in the comments down below to make sure you get all the crazy news from every corner of the internet every weekday. Like this video, and if you're new to this channel, subscribe to the know. Shout out to Honey for sponsoring this update. There's an amazing free browser extension called Honey that millions and millions of people use every day to save money. If you buy stuff online, whether it's video games or PC hardware, and I'm gonna hazard a guess that a lot of us do, it makes sense to get the best deal you can, and that's where Honey comes in. While you shop, it scans and tests millions of discount codes to find the biggest discount on everything you're buying online. Then, when you're ready to check out, it automatically applies the best discount to your cart. That means you can stretch your budget further and afford more games. For example, I shop on Amazon a lot. You could say I have a problem, bit of a junkie. I'm getting Switch cases, accessories, headphones, you name it. The other day, I bought a Totoro blanket with a hood because I wanted it. Honey even finds sellers on Amazon that are offering the same thing for less, so it's not changing what I buy, but it does help me spend less on it and get the best deal. Honey works on Chrome, Firefox, Safari, all the major browsers. To give it a go and save money on all the stuff you're already buying, visit joinhoney.com/theknow.